ProQuest Yokohama week number 3 is just around the corner, and I've got some dark horse hero picks for you to pick up and take to your next ProQuest to take it down in a way that no one expected. But to understand what people are going to expect, you need to know what's happened in the first 2 weekends, and to do that, we should take a look at those results. So here's the results for ProQuest Yokohama week number 1, and at the top of the heap you can of course see Gravy Bones, followed by Syndra and Verdance, and those are the 3 heroes to keep your eye on. Of course, Florian, Casai, Kano, KO, and Dio, with some Acilio splashed in there as well, maybe round out that top 8, if you will. But looking at week number 2, we see the mix-up happens, and yet the top 2 heroes, and maybe even top 3 depending on how you want to break it down, stay there. Verdance, Syndra, and Gravy Bones. KO and Acilio are actually tied with Gravy Bones, and for some reason we swapped 2 percentages just to make things that much more exciting, because I know you out there love it when things are displayed in percentages. That being said, those 3 heroes sort of make the triangle meta that we experience as it is right now. We have the Verdances out there that are crushing the Syndras that are beating up on the Gravies, and the Gravies that are dragging the Verdances down into the watery depths. And that's really what the meta is right now. It's a triangle with a couple of other heroes that are doing quite well. And really, when you want to sit down to your next ProQuest, you have to ask the question, who am I looking to beat? And is there a hero out there that's secretly able to beat all 3 of those top decks? Well, let's start there, because there are a couple of heroes that you should keep your eye on if you're looking to have good matchups, or at least playable matchups, into 3 of those top 3 heroes. 3 of those top 3, I'm just going to leave that in. The first one is Dash.io. Dash.io is interesting in that she can race the Syndras. She can output more damage than the D-reacts of Verdance can deal with. And in some way, shape, or form, she can either race or at least deal with some of the amount of the board state that Gravy Bones can provide. She's a hero uniquely suited for this type of metagame. And if we take a look at the data on Fab Blazing, you can see that that is pretty representative of what we see. Dash.io has a fine time into Verdance, has a little bit of a losing matchup into Gravy Bones, and has an okay race type matchup into Syndra. Now do keep in mind, this is the data from the Calling Hamburg. Now if I went through and grabbed all of the battle hardens, and I wish that we could somehow get the data for ProQuests themselves, but of course that would be impossible. But if we went through and added all the most recent battle hardens with this current meta that we're playing in, we get this. These are the results for the battle hardened Guadalajara, battle hardened Osaka, battle hardened Sonoma, Calling Hamburg, and Calling Shizuoka. And in looking at these, you can see that Dash.io has some pretty favorable matchups played in paper in tournaments that you can go and look at the data for. And she's doing okay into all 3 heroes. None of them are blowouts, none of them are like 100% secure wins, but Dio is a solid hero to pick up if you're looking to counter specifically those 3 decks and not necessarily worried too much about some of the other things out there. She does have some weak points, especially if you're looking at Guardian as a possible play in your local meta, some amount of struggles into, Assassin if they still exist in the board, but she's doing okay into some of the other strong heroes in the meta. So she is probably my front runner right now for Dark Horse heroes. If you're not looking at the top 3, look at Dash.io. But let's jump into a little bit of a deeper cut. If you're looking for another hero that has pretty solid matchups into all 3 of those heroes, look no further than Prism Awakener of Soul. Now you might be thinking, why in the world would I ever play Prism Awakener of Soul into a meta that has so many brutes? And brutes are pretty good right now, but Prism Awakener of Soul, if you're only looking at those 3 heroes, is actually pretty solid into all 3 of those. Here, let me show you. Based on the same exact data set, she has a solid win rate into Verdance and a crazy good win rate into Gravy. Of course, small sample sizes, less people playing Prism. She struggles a bit in the race matchups into Syndra Drakai of Retribution, but it's fairly close, literally a game away from 50%. She's a pretty solid pickup, and and she's very good into some of the other heroes. If you're worried about Kano, this is a great hero to take. It's not fun for the wizards. And it's also not fun if you're trying to race someone that can throw heralds as -IO. You kind of have to just high roll them a little bit and play really solid, and they have to low roll a little bit as well. And again, if you're looking at heroes, you know, like down the way, like Fangs, or some like fatigue style builds, and even in some cases Guardians, where you can sort of play the you know, the Spectra package, if you will, you can even win into some of those matchups, but you are going to struggle into your KOs, into your Reinars. You're not going to win that matchup. You have some weak points, if you will, in the meta, and even some of these other, you know, lesser played heroes are going to give you trouble. So Prism, a little bit more of a volatile pick, but if you locally can put the deck together and you're expecting things like Gravy Bones and even Verdance, then she might be the deck to go for. And now we get to the point where you have to make some decisions, because these next few heroes might be good into 2 of those matchups, 2 of those top 3 heroes, and they may fold to 1. But that might be okay if you know your local meta. And one of those heroes is Yarl Vetrady. Yes, I know, Yarl Vetrady. He's an interesting pick. And the reason being that he actually has game into Gravy Bones, because he can blow up Compass and make the game a lot more difficult for most Gravy Bones. You have to really know how to play that matchup without Compass in order to win, and still, even if you do, Yarl can still just throw some pretty big damage at you and pick up the win. But it's also quite nice to be able to, you know, like blow up your opponent when they're on Syndra, and to, you know, frostbite them out as well. The problem, of course, is Verdance. The data, of course, shows this. If we're looking at the data, you can see Yarl here, 132 matches across all of those tournaments I mentioned before, and solid win rates into both Gravy and into Syndra. But the real struggle there is, of course, the Verdance matchup, and this is a hot pick. Like, if you're taking Verdance, you know that, or sorry, if you're taking Verdance, if you're taking Yarl, you know that Verdance is going to be an issue, and you kind of have to know that your meta is not full of Verdance players, or that you're somehow going to dodge the 1 or 2 Verdances at your ProQuest. The problem is, Verdance is arguably the best deck in the format, and if you're losing to the best deck in the format, you have a little bit of a problem there. So Yarl, maybe not, but he certainly has some play into these other 2 heroes. And look, I've continued to play and test and theory craft and try new things, and I'm just gonna say it, Casai continues to be solid into all 3 of these decks. And I will also say that I think as players have picked it up, they're starting to realize that she has more legs than maybe they did back at some of those earlier battle hardens. This is more of a recent phenomenon. The Casai rise is far more recent than I think people are realizing it, and the data is not going to look good. Do I have rose-colored glasses, and am I biased? Yes, 100%, and this is how much I am biased by, because I'm putting her on this list, even though in these tournament games, she's not doing well into really any of these matchups. But again, I'm gonna say it, I think she has legs. I have felt very comfortable playing into all 3 of these matchups, and that now includes my version of the list going up against multiple Verdances. It's feeling better than it ever has before, and I could be just way off base. But keep in mind that there's a lot of, there's a lot of games on Syndra, there's a lot of games on Gravy, there's a lot of games on Verdance, but the games that are on Casai in these older paper battle hardens and callings may not have had the same breadth and skill as they might now. So, am I biased? Yeah, of course I'm biased, but it's my YouTube channel, so f*** off. Okay, and finally, you want the deepest cut of them all? You ready for the deepest cut of them all? This one's a crazy one. Dorithia, you know that hero Dorithia? Look, if we're talking about a hero that is strictly just really good into a lot of the top meta right now, but no one plays, it's Dorithia freaking Ironsong, and it's been this, but again, no one really plays Dorithia, and Dorithia does have some bad matchups, but take a look at this data, because Dorithia here is really solid into both Gravy Bones, and these are in the same tournaments, even though the Gravy Bones chat, and trust me, I'm part of it, the Gravy Bones chat has, felt very comfortable about their new, plan into Dorithia. Very good still into Syndra, because Syndra doesn't know how to block. They forgot, yes, cards have block value. And then they fold hard to Verdance. So yeah, that's a problem. So again, if you're struggling into Verdance, maybe not a good pick, maybe not a good pick. But if you don't have very many Verdances, you could take Dorithia Iron Song as a dark horse pick into your next ProQuest, and just feast on like the Kanos, and feast on the Acilios, and even Dio is like I guess a good matchup. It's 3 games, but like I guess that could be a good matchup. They don't really block. They have items. You just blow them up with all your Dawnblade counters. It's pretty solid. You got some pretty good matchups into some of these other heroes as well, like your Brutes, and I could see it happening. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of people that look at that and my previous pick, and they write this entire thing off. But understand, we can have a little fun, and we can have a little bias, but at the same time, we can acknowledge that Dorithia might be in a pretty good spot to actually do some work going forward if people actually picked her up and played her. So there are some heroes, some dark horse picks that you could take to your ProQuest and try to combat this triangle meta. Did I miss any heroes? If I did, please leave a comment down below. Tell me what hero we're sleeping on. What are your sleeper picks for week 3 of ProQuest Yokohama season? And of course, if you like this type of content, make the number go to the other number. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.